Okay, we will call the meeting to order as we have a quorum. And say hello to all the viewers at home. And the first item on the agenda is public comment. Is there any public comment? Next item on the agenda is liaison comments. I know that Deputy First Selectman Heller had extended her regrets because of conflict this evening. So we won't have any comment from her. Paul is our Board of Finance liaison. Do you have
No comments this time.
And I suppose that the Board of Finance doesn't have any inside information about the budget situation coming from the State House. You probably don't know any more than I do, which is not much.
No.
Okay.
We know about as much as the government does.
So, change is coming, we expect, but we don't know. Any other liaison comments?
Not tonight.
Nice to see you, mate. Next item is the approval of minutes from April and May. We had tabled May at the last meeting. If anybody needs copies, but I had some edits to the section on budget for 2018 on the April 17th minutes. And I would just like to replace that section with following text. That, met with First Selectman, Town Council, Chairman Alexiadis, and Tony Genovese, Chief Rowland, those people, to discuss purchasing procedures regarding Engine 3. It's addressed in a footnote in the preliminary budget book. The Board of Selectmen authorized an RFP at the last meeting. Discussion took place on procedures under the charter, as any truck ordered this year will not incur expense until 2 years later. And the preliminary budget hearing is tonight at 7:30 p.m. That being tonight being April 17th. So that's what I would propose to replace the section in the draft. That's basically cleaning it up. Does anybody else have any other proposed changes? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes with that, of April 17th with that change.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Shafrin. Okay, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous, and here's that text. Next is the minutes of, draft minutes of May 15th, which I did not have any comments on. Anybody else have any changes or corrections? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes as rendered?
I'll make a motion.
Mr. Shafrin, our secretary.
Second.
Second by Mr. Cardozo. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. That's unanimous also. Okay. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the review of the current financial statements. Do we have copies of those?
Yes.
I have a copy of the agenda.
Anybody else on the agenda?
Good. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, no. Okay,
So this is the budget that's
thank you.
11 days before the end of the fiscal year.
Yes. So the line is still, that we're gonna look at is medical expense. That line shows 15,467 over. It's not gonna be quite that. The encumbered of 5861. Some of that is gonna go back in, we won't use it all, but we are gonna be over on medical expense due to the fact that we had to comply with OSHA to get everybody a yearly physical within a 365-day period. Also, we had an influx this year of a lot of new members, so it's actually a good thing. So it's really not, it's an unanticipated cost, and it's actually for a good reason for an influx of new members this year. So.
And so it just, as you all may recall, there's no grace period on the physicals. So completing them all without a grace period within 365 days means that realistically that they're getting done within 11 months or maybe even less. So that's a sort of marginal increase in the expense to the.
What happens is that when they go for a physical, it takes usually a few weeks for us to get the paperwork back, 2 to 3 weeks. So they have to go like within 11 months. So we have the paperwork, we have to have the paperwork in hand by 365, otherwise we have to pull them off of firefighting.
So we have 60 members, all of whom.
We don't have to wait 60, we're probably around 50.
Okay. So all volunteers have to be medically checked every year.
Yes. And we've been doing that. We're getting close to the end of the budget year. We try to hold a couple of some people over to wait till July for a new budget year, but after going through the OSHA thing back in December and earlier this year, it was told we couldn't have that grace period. Everything needs to be done within 365. We have to have the paperwork in hand within the calendar year, within a 365-day period since our last physical.
So that's potentially a 10% or more, 10 or 20% increase as a result of shortening the time frame. I'm doing my math right.
10 to 20% increase.
That's what I'm thinking. If you
Well,
got
plus
a
we also have-
There is a,
Plus, we also have more members.
plus more members, yeah.
yeah, part of the spike is a one-time,
Yes.
one-time spike, so.
Well, it's not a one-time spike. Remember, they're added to the roll, so it's going to be every year they're going to have that. So it's a spike this year. Next year, the number hopefully would stay around what we went over this year. Yes. Well, not what we were budgeted for, because remember, the budget went in before we had all these things happen, and by the time we met with OSHA and had their findings back and everything else, we had to be compliant. So it was after the budget went through.
After our budget.
After our budget was submitted.
Submission.
Yes,
So next year our spending.
Next year we'll go
total
over
of what we
that
spent
too.
this year. Right?
pretty close, yes.
Yeah, you know, expenses go up anyways in general too, so medical expense. Per physical, I don't know the number, but the per physical.
What happens is with physicals, it depends on when your year is up to. So everybody gets a yearly physical every year. The guys 40 and below get a stress test every third year. The guys 40 to 50 get a stress test every other year. The guys 50 and above get a stress test every year. So that adds to that number. So if we had a guys 40 and below, more of them needed stress tests. Obviously, that number would increase, where on the off years it would decrease.
You're gonna hold another recruitment thing this year?
Sure, more the merrier.
So we'll have no expenses next year.
It's a good thing, it's not a bad thing. The other line to look at is data processing. We're over on that, but we'll get that covered by another line. We're pretty confident we can cover that. Repair maintenance machine, that's no surprise. We're gonna be over probably right around 10,000. Once we get all the numbers in, we'll figure it out, but last year, if you remember, we were around 120,000. This year, we're gonna probably be closer to 78,000, so we're about 10,000 over budget, which we kinda anticipated last year. And we're gonna start July, and we're probably gonna run over next year just because we have a heavy year. We have to get the brakes checked. We may need some new brakes in some of the trucks, so we have some big repairs. We have some big things coming up this year, which we knew about it. It's through our cycle. This is just gonna be a heavy year with repair maintenance machine. This year we're coming out of was actually a light year. That's why we've only run over about 10,000.
So
which isn't
is
bad.
that, Sean, is that 10,000 over the original budget or over the,
It's 10,000 over
revised
this, it's 10,000 over the 68,000. Off the original appropriation.
no, I think it's off the revised because we've expended 81 and there's 5 encumbered.
Yeah, but.
That's
right.
86 and the
I'm sorry.
revised is
But
77.
remember, they put in money for, we needed to replace the light tower for 13,000 on rescue one.
So you're
But that's not
anticipating
even.
we'll spend a little bit less than the encumbered amount? Is that-
No, we're probably gonna be around,
I mean, if you add the
we'll
81,
probably be around 81 compared to 68 where we had budgeted.
yeah, but we're at 81 now.
Spending 81,
And encumbered is, no, am I looking at the right line?
we expended 81,
And we've encumbered 5,100.
right, so we'll probably
So
be, I'm
that's
sorry,
our-
we'll
That's part
probably
of
be
the
about,
expended.
yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
part of the
yes.
expanded?
So the available budget reflects the encumbered amount.
So the year-to-date expended is the revised budget number plus the encumbered amount. Is that? Yeah.
We're hoping to only be about 10,000 over. We'll know that probably in one more week before everything comes through.
In any event, the point being that these are necessary repairs to keep the apparatus on the road.
Yes.
working.
Yep.
And these are numbers that the finance department is apprised of
Yeah,
on an
they know
ongoing
about
basis.
it.
No
Yep.
surprise here.
Right. The other line to look at is computer. We spent 4,084. If you remember last year, the Board of Finance did not.
What line is that? Sean, sorry to interrupt.
55111.
Thank you. Got it.
Computer. That line was zeroed out last year by the Board of Finance. They didn't fund technology. At the beginning of the year, we actually spent the 4,000, and Tony took it out of that line even though we didn't have any, with the understanding either we would have to hit contingency or we could find it in the budget later on at the end of the year. That was for the switches that we needed to replace in the telecom room. So that line is over. Capital machinery, we're trying to find a portable pond, a hazmat pool, containment pool for 2,000. We're having a little bit of difficulty. They're more than that, but we are trying to find it, and hopefully we'll have that by the end of the year because we really do need that.
Sorry, last year. Oh, time problem. Thank you.
That's all I have.
That's the last line, and that's to do on-scene decontamination.
Correct.
Which, you know, to me, that's necessary equipment, rather
It
than
is.
taking
It's
somebody
just-
contaminated
it is
into the
just-
vehicle
it's
and then
not,
back here.
It's really not enough, so we're trying to find something that we can get used, new, but used like a demo that we can take from somebody.
That's for like an auto accident situation.
It's like if we had some type of hazmat situation, we're gonna rinse the people down or rinse the firefighters down, we contain the water and then it gets pumped out into like, call a private contractor to have it sucked out of the pond.
And use a fire hose to wash it down? or
Either a
is that
fire hose
common?
or a garden hose.
Right,
Yep.
But I mean,
It connects to the fire truck.
yeah, it's not part of
No,
that equipment.
So
Okay.
you're referencing that as part of what,
capital machinery at the bottom, 574,110.
but as the amount that's been encumbered or as the amount that's
No,
left?
the available budget's 24,4260. We only had 2,000 allocated for decontamination pool.
Okay.
So we're trying to find something that we can buy for 2,000 that's suitable, but realistically, they're more money than that. So we're trying to do our best to stay within the 2,000.
At a market rate, how much are they?
For about $4,500. It's something you don't use every day, but you need it.
How does that compare to the portable ponds on the tanker trucks? Is it smaller? Or is it
No,
similar?
it's
Different
small. No,
purpose?
it's small. It's a much smaller pool than that. And usually they stand up. It's a pool, and then it stands up, and it's like an enclosure.
Oh, okay.
And then you have jets come in
Yeah.
to clean you off, the contaminants off, and it contains it.
Is that,
Where a portable pond is probably about $4,500, I think, for a 3,000-gallon pond. But
But
it's
they're
much more
totally
bulky,
different, yeah.
totally bigger, and different
Okay.
purpose entirely.
is that an anticipated or an existing regulation that's required, or is this more for preparation and preparedness?
No, we need to carry some type of decontamination pool. The other one's dry rotted and stuff like that, so it's not really useful. That's why we put it in the budget last year. Just I didn't anticipate it being $4,500. I mean, it's basically it's like a blow up. It's like a blow up pool with a blow up top,
Shower.
and it's basically PVC with jets coming out of it. I couldn't see it being more than $2,000, and I didn't do that one.
You know, and I think it's just as a practical matter, I mean, we've been, aware of hazmat situations in town where other departments, if I'm remembering this correctly, but, I mean, it's some people, potential contaminators showed up at the police department, and everywhere they walk, it presents an issue. So here, when we're dealing with the response, I mean, it's prudent to have it.
What kind of contaminant?
Well, in the police incident, they didn't know what it was, and it was a white powder sphere. Somebody like drove here from out of town. So I don't want to be, I don't want to be giving bad information.
Yeah.
But a lot of such
There's procedures in place that we would have to follow. Because at that point, you're not sure what the product is that they're contaminated with, so you have to take the necessary preparations and actions to decontaminate, and then you're waiting for DEEP to come down and everybody to come down to basically find out what the actual product is, because you're going to need a hazmat tech to do that. So basically, we're hazmat operational. So there's awareness, operational, and then you have the tech team. So,
I mean, most of the stuff we deal with is on the ground. A spill from an accident is potentially hazardous, but firefighters aren't getting in contact.
no, it could be. I mean, we've had a couple big ones in town. One of the bigger ones we had was we had an issue back in '98, '99, where we had to decontaminate 4 police officers. We had to decontaminate 2 individuals, one which died, and we needed to set hot zones up, cold zones, and basically rinse everybody down to a safe standard and notify the hospital that they were incoming.
So what was it that the person died from?
It was swallowed a poison. But at that point,
Hazardous.
we didn't know what it was or what it is, so we had to take all the necessary actions.
And, we have, not a heavy industrial town, but we have industry in town, and even,
So it's something we need, we can't do without it, so it's just a matter of finding something for that. And if we can't, then we'll have to figure out our next step moving forward.
okay. Anybody else have any?
Well, yeah, just a question, just generally, now you at the bottom, it indicates there's a $17,000 surplus.
That 17,000 is not accurate, right?
Right,
Because
so
all
this
the
is
bills have to
legal,
come
you said
in.
there's more stuff coming in.
Yes.
So is any of that potentially to help a situation where you can use it for transfer?
Well, if all the bills were in, then we could, use that to,
We'll have some
You have
money,
to zero it out. I mean,
we're
we
gonna
have to-
transfer some money to offset it.
I mean, we do line item transfers throughout the year as necessary or
I
anticipated.
just wasn't sure how much
And-
of that 17 you feel is pretty much gonna go away, if it's gonna turn out to be under budget, over budget.
We don't have the accurate number yet on that. We'll
So
know
that number's
probably-
accurate as of like this moment, but
It's not accurate, we
But
know we
there's-
have bills out there, so
Yeah.
as it comes in, it's against it, we'll deduct off of that.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
anything on the other side to talk about?
Nope. Everything's still the same.
Okay, now we will segue into item number 6, the fire chief's report.
Happy to state that we had 4 guys in firefighter 1, that the program started back in January. We had 3 of them pass and they're completed, and basically their firefighter 1 certificates with the state of Connecticut. We had 1 person that has to go back and retake the hazmat portion, but shouldn't be an issue. Hazmat's really hard on these tests, so to have 1 person not pass that one part of the exam is not unusual, so we'll send him right back, and he should hopefully get it done in the next month or so and get him completed. And then we have 2 other people in firefighter 1 now, so hopefully by the end of the year, or by the end of the summer, hopefully we should have a total of 6 new firefighter 1 certified people.
So
it's good.
congratulations are in order to the 3.
Yep.
Do you want to identify them now or wait till we have the full class of 6?
We'll get the last guy to pass them, and we'll recognize them.
Okay,
So they're doing it as a group.
all right, that's outstanding.
Okay.
And that also represents a serious commitment of time to take the
It is,
firefighter.
it's 180 hours, so basically it's 1 or 2 days a week and 1 day every other weekend. Sometimes it's every weekend once they get really going, so it's a huge time
It's
commitment.
a 6-month.
Yep, they started in January and they just finished up last week.
Okay, that's great.
Driver's licenses, we're trying to get more current, which everybody's current, we just need to get a copy of it. Gear was ordered, a lot of the gear came in, we're still waiting on some miscellaneous gear, fire turnout gear. Next year, we're gonna spend probably all of it pretty quick because we have people's gear that's starting to date, and once it gets 10 years, it needs to be replaced, even though if it looks okay or whatever, gear has a 10-year shelf life, it needs to be replaced. So a lot of the gear we've been buying are for the new guys and the new recruits and everything else. And
Chief, the old gear when it is replaced in a situation like that, if it's in good condition, what happens to it? Do you have
you
any
can't
sense?
use it for structural firefighting. So
Do we do anything with it, or is there a normal?
no, we
plot?
try to let the recruits use it for training when they go through their training, so they don't wreck the new gear. But they've been looking at when they send them to school, they've been looking at the dates and everything because they also have to be compliant. So sometimes we do it, other times we have to issue them current gear, but they can't really have dated gear. So once 10 years is up, we basically buy people new gear, or if the gear turns red, they get redness on their shoulders usually. That's due to heat or sun. The fire retardant is worn off and that has to be replaced. So some guys, if they're more active than other guys, sometimes gear will be replaced in 6 years. So it depends on how active you are and what we're doing throughout the year.
So how much are we looking to replace this?
We're probably gonna need at least 10 or 12 sets.
Can I ask what the cost is for these sets?
Or with the invitation to the budget?
I wanna say it's about, without boots and helmets, probably about 28 to $3,000 a set.
At least, right? You know, just for context, last year we budgeted 26,000.
Last year meeting last year or last year meeting this year?
I mean, the current year that's ending now.
Physical.
This past year.
Physicals were up to date. Hopefully just about everybody has a current physical, and we have one person actually, that's not current, but everybody else is current on the physical, so we're good on that end.
And anyone who's not current just basically can't
Can't
participate.
firefighter can't participate until they have a current physical. We have the current, they can go get their physical today, but we need the paperwork in hand before we can release you. Fire dispatch, met with the police chief, the deputy chief, Amy. This has been going on for over a year now. We looked at a bunch of different options. We agreed that priority dispatch was the way to go. That's what the card's at right now, because even if we go to the computer-aided version, which is roughly $70,000 to $100,000, which we're going to need to do at some point to be where we should be. The first part of that is to get trained on the card set and to use the card set. Part of it, the priority dispatch is what they're using right now for EMD, emergency medical dispatch. So we decided to stick with that. We got a price to purchase. We would purchase, on the fire department side, we purchased the card sets, the training and everything else for the dispatchers, and it was just under $5,000. And then the police department would pay just to send their people to the training, the 6 dispatchers. I got a call from the police chief a couple weeks ago after their police commission meeting that they didn't have the money to send their dispatchers to training, the 6 dispatchers, and they want to hold off on it right now, and they either want to come up with questions to ask when a 911 call comes in, or they want us to ask us to write questions that they should ask when a 911 call comes in on the fire side. I don't think that's the way to go. I think we need to move forward with the priority dispatch. This thing's been researched, and I have an open purchase order for that to purchase the training, the card sets, and the necessary things for that. The only thing I don't have, and I think the police department should cover, is the training to pay the actual dispatchers to go to the training.
So that's the payroll expense.
Correct.
There's sort of the additional payroll expense that they would anticipate.
How many hours of training do they require?
It's 24 hours for each person. So we would pay for the training, we just wouldn't cover the payroll side of it. And then moving forward for the next budget year, I think we should be putting in for, whether we do it or the police department do it or they form another committee, they should be looking to move to priority dispatch, which is a computer automated system where it takes the human error out of it and it dumps it with the computer, and the computer actually generates the questions and dumps it into the CAD program, and it's all tracked and logged and everything else. So it basically it's basically where everybody is going right now.
So, as you know, to sort of refresh everyone's recollection on this, and as I recall, you know, in any call that comes in, there's either a flow chart or a decision tree where, depending on what each piece of information is, and you go to the next question, and the dispatch is either doing that based on their training with no guidance, or this card set that we're talking about, we were showing you, just look at it, where you flip through, or that same information that's on the card set is now in computer software, so it shows up on screens. So the training, so as I understand it, the training wouldn't be a waste of time, because it's essentially the same. The substance is the same. Just
basically, you have to get trained on the card set before you even move over to the computer-aided version of it. So this is actually the first step. I'm moving to the computer-aided version, say, in a year from now.
So is there additional training that has to be done a year from now?
Sure, yeah, once they're trained on the fire side, they're already trained on the medical side. They take that 24-hour training, and then next year, what would happen is, I want to say it's only 4 hours.
If you do within 6 months.
Oh, within 6 months, otherwise it's 24
Otherwise, you have to do the
hours
whole
again.
training again.
Right.
So next year we'd have to do another 4 hours.
Well, no,
So they need
next
30
year,
hours.
if you move to the Pro QA, which is a computer-aided version, in the next 6 months, then it would be only a 4-hour training.
Correct.
Otherwise,
Just to learn the
if you
program.
wait after 6 months, then you have to go through the 24-hour training session again.
Can I just add to, it's not just the card set in computer form. It actually guides them through the questions and it moves them to the
Scripts.
next appropriate thing. There is a script there for them. And it also, the answers that they're getting, they're typing right in and that's being pushed through the CAD out to the responders at the scene or
Right.
going to the scene.
To the iPad and everything else. So
Automatically populates the
even
fields.
if they're on the phone still and they're typing, we can see actually live what's going on and the answers to some of the questions, and then she could always get, or whoever the dispatcher could get back on the radio and say, car 2-1, just be advised, this is happening, that's happening.
It also shows when to dispatch. So when they have enough information, the light flashes on the
flashes
screen and
and
tells them
tells them.
now is, you can
Now
push
you-
the button.
Dispatch the fire department, dispatch
They have enough
EMS,
basic
dispatch the police
information.
department, so it goes through all this.
I would think the public thinks that they're doing that already.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah,
And
that's.
anytime you call customer service, you know that's what you're.
But the reality is, we've been having a lot of difficulty with this between police and fire, and it's the response times and the information going back and forth. So I mean, there's a significant benefit in terms of
Absolutely.
improvement over
And
where we are now.
it gives you a standard. Because right now you don't have a standard.
With measurements.
I see, the metrics, in other words.
You got it.
So we've been talking about various issues with dispatch for as long as.
For years.
As long as I can remember on this commission. And if you listen to dispatch calls, and we all can get them on our phones, and information is lacking. And I don't say that to blame the dispatchers, because I think they're doing the best they can with the tools that are provided to them. They just don't have the proper training and equipment, I don't think. I mean, and you hear call after call after call. There's useful information that's missing.
Has the provider given any statistical type information that indicates the amount of benefit, anything that substantiates the value?
It all has to do with risk. So if you take a call or you end up going to court because you're getting sued over something, the actual program basically covers you as long as you follow the parameters of the program. The program actually covers you through this whole thing, and they support
So
you
it
through
means that
this.
it makes sure that you meet the particular standards that have been put in place.
The computer-aided version of it, yes.
And that overall, it's like you said, 70 to 100K,
Right.
and that includes the computer aided version.
That includes
That is
the
the
computer-aided version.
Okay.
The other version is, like I said, the card set where you have to start at to get there, because you have to take the card set first. That's under 5,000. That's roughly 5,000, and then you have to train the 6 dispatchers in that, and then the next step is the computer-aided.
And how many people would have to, I know it's 24 hours you said, and I know.
It's 6
they don't-
dispatchers.
Times 24 hours, times whatever the payroll is for those 6 people.
Correct. And what I was told, it was around 8,800 to train them.
We have an open purchase order. My advice to Sean was let's get this thing and move it forward. But there is an issue about the timing in terms of the 6 months.
Right, making sure you can hit that as well.
So-
Well, we can buy it, but if we don't implement it, it's basically,
You're just setting yourself up for another.
Well, if we don't
24 hours of
implement
training.
this system, we're wasting this money, right? And then but then the 6 months is to go to the next step.
as we'll the card set that we're looking to do is what we should have done in like 2000. That's where it was back in 2000. In 2017, you're moving to the computer-aided version.
Which is
of
what
it,
they're updating,
which
they're not updating
we're
the cards
actually,
anymore.
we're not, they're not
That's absolutely,
upgrading
yeah.
cards, so the cards that are there are what's there, so it's giving you somewhat of a minimum standard, and then to go to the Pro QA, you're basically where you're supposed to be in 2017.
So what specifically has to happen on both sides, police department and fire, to
Well, the
make
police
this happen and
department, the
make it
police
valuable?
department should pay to train their dispatchers on how to dispatch on the fire side. I don't really feel comfortable writing questions to ask. I mean, I could probably do it, but I don't really feel comfortable writing questions to have them ask the callers, or I don't feel comfortable having the police department write questions that they should be asking callers. We should buy a program that this is what they do. This is, and they basically warranty it. They basically take some of the risk away from the town as long as you follow their program.
And they anticipate all the different
So-
And then basically what happens is once a month or once a quarter, however we set it up, it's gotta be quality controlled. So we would want somebody from here to quality control the fire side of it. And they could quality control the EMS side or the police side if they decide to go with the police card set. And basically, so we'd be sending somebody from here, which you have to sit through the training and everything, but since everybody here is volunteer, we don't really pay them. I mean, we could pay them at the $25 an hour, so they're sitting there for 3 days, getting nothing. And
So what steps need to take place to get something either moving
Okay,
or?
so-
we can buy the card set right now. We have the open purchase order, but what you need is you need the police department to cover
So
the
you need a
cost
commitment
of the
from them to
training.
train them. Basically, it really comes down to a commitment from the police department to train people.
So we looked at the minutes for was that the last meeting, Sean, they were looking at?
Yeah.
The last police commission meeting. And no action was taken, decision made, but the chief reported that they didn't have the money in the budget to cover this training. And he sort of floated the idea of coming up with his own drafting their own questions and checklist. As for the reasons Sean discussed, I think that's just an unsatisfactory, not even less than ideal, it's just an unsatisfactory solution. And I thought the card set is the minimum, but what needs to happen is sort of the police department needs to be on board with it so that the dispatchers will get the training on the card set that we're buying. And then there's the other issue of are the two departments and the town going to commit to the software system, which is a larger expense, are they going to commit to that within the time frame that would avoid the duplicative training, right?
Yeah, but I would put it into the budget for next year because this is not something that happens immediately. It's not like we buy it and then tomorrow we implement it. There's training there, we have to implement it, and then even when you go to the computer-aided version, there is, even though it's a 4-hour training for them, there's a lot of data and input that we have to give to them, and we have to input into the system for it to become operational. So that 6 month is probably going to take us 6 months to once we get the go ahead for the Pro QA, which is the electronic version. It's still going to take us time to implement our data input our stuff into that program.
Setup
So
required.
Sean, what do you have a purchase order for?
We have it for just the card set
Just the cards?
And the
training.
and the company,
Training.
the
Right.
training courses from the company.
Well, not for ours. For them, we're paying for the training. We can't pay for the overtime or straight time, whatever they're doing for the 6 dispatchers.
But to be clear, this is what the department is saying that they need in order to respond, promptly, accurately, and effectively. And that's all you want.
We're basically
is
telling
to be able to get the
what
call
we should
and
be
get the
dispatched
correct
to, but
information.
we haven't wrote questions or we haven't done any of that.
So are you asking the commission to,
I'm asking the commission what you'd like to do. We have an open purchase order right now for, I want to say, I can tell you actually right now.
but are you asking for anything on the Pro QA?
No, we're gonna put that, I think we should put that into the budget, because, I mean, it's 100,000, it's probably $70,000 to $100,000, and I can't see going and hitting contingency right now for that for next year, but we can, they've definitely budget for it and discuss it, so we can move forward. So next July, or even before then, we can start moving forward to do that. I think it should be implemented immediately, but to get everything going, I think this is the first step.
So you're really just asking for the card set now and.
Right, so the card set, the training, the course and everything is $45.52. And they're gonna need to pay for training for just payroll, whatever that is.
On the computer side, is the police department gonna be responsible for half of that bill, or the fire department's gonna pay for the whole thing? On the computer side.
Oh, it's something we can have a discussion about come budget season in the fall to find out whose budget it should go into.
Or split it
That's
three
not-
ways with EMS.
Well,
That's
what-
not, that's not an approved item, that's not a PO item, that's still just a plan.
The software system.
Yes.
70 to 100K.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if we could-
Yeah, no, that hasn't.
But in my understanding, just to make sure, because if you do the card set at the $45,000.
Yep.
It's for, yeah,
4,500.
right.
4,500. If you do that, does the clock start on that 6-month training type thing? Because that's the training you're saying you're doing.
Correct.
So once you do that training, the clock starts at that, once you've
Right,
completed
and
the
if we
training.
expend past the 6
6 months, now you
then
have to
we have to
basically
do
go back and
the-
do the 24 again, so are you talking?
Correct.
Another 45 or so, or is it?
No, not 45, it's
Another
it's another 8,800.
Got it.
We could buy the cards now, they don't have to go to the training right away though, right?
Right,
Well-
so we could buy the card set now, and then we could send them in August, we could send them in September. Doesn't have to happen immediately, but we had some money left in training this year, which we pulled out because we felt that this was important enough to move forward with, to do.
In the payroll training, we're talking the $8,800.
Guys,
It's
you-
specifically to train on the card set, nothing to do with the computers.
Correct.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's,
Correct,
that's
yes.
the
Good
estimate.
computer.
Right, it'll put you in a better position when.
For it.
That's
You would
what
only
we
need
understand,
four
that that's the
hours.
police
That's the ultimate way
department's
to do it.
estimate
Yeah.
of what their payroll expense will be
But it doesn't sound like
to
you're
send the
gonna get there.
dispatchers to school.
Do you think you can get there?
Unless the town can afford to come up with 70 to 100 grand, we do it now. When we do it, they get trained on the card set, move right into the Pro QA, and then probably within 6 months, we have the Pro QA up and running, and we're done where we're supposed to
You know
be.
the old saying, don't let the perfect.
8,800 is just the payroll expense.
Correct.
That's just the salaries. What's the cost for the training?
It's in that 45,
45.
which we already did.
Okay, so
We're paying for that.
That's for, I mean, yeah, it's the cards and the
Basically,
training.
for the cards and
It's
the
the
training,
cards.
you're talking, if, let's say $9,000, you're talking about $13,000 to $14,000. Is really what we're saying.
Total
From a
budget.
town perspective.
Budget.
From a
Yes.
town perspective.
That's right.
Yes.
We're talking about $13,000, and now you have a system that's improvement on what we have, it's not computer. And then, but you're in a position, if you want to move to computer, now you're trained and you're in a position to do so with the same
Correct.
platform and provider that was.
Correct.
Right.
Okay.
But
I'm reminded, you know the old saying, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good? The perfect in that analogy would be the software system.
I agree.
And but we've been talking about this for so long.
Right now,
And I
right
mean, I
now
think
we
the
have.
card set is a bare minimum we need to do to improve the situation. I don't want to just keep waiting for that big expense down the road when we
And
can
not
do
make
something.
any advance.
We
or
can do
any
something
improvement.
now.
Right.
I mean, we
But-
talked about this 2 years
But
ago.
really,
We could have this.
if you get the card system right now, and they have not committed to do the training with dispatchers, are you in a better position, or is that a neutral position? Because that's what's gonna happen.
Basically,
I mean, it sounds like for now, we don't have a commitment from the police to train.
Here's the thing, right?
The
We're
dispatch to train.
not in charge of dispatch here, but we need to be dispatched properly, and we need to be dispatched with some level. We need some type of minimum standard, and the minimum standard cannot just be what we think we should be asking on the call. It should be,
Very specific, very,
Right,
that's,
you
that
got it.
goes across all the different
Exactly.
departments and
Exactly.
communities and things of that nature.
Question. If you were to go directly to the Pro QA, which you're not, if you were to go directly,
Yep.
would you still buy those
we
card
would still
systems
need
too, or
to
not?
do, we still need to buy the card set. You have to get trained on the
So why
card
would you
set.
buy it?
That's what you get trained on the card set.
I think that's
Kinda
what
Pro
put you in
QA is only
forward.
a
It's just
4-hour
How to
training.
It's smart.
implement the
It's a
computer
very strategic
part, how to
thing.
work the
Trainer, just have them
program.
there.
The information
I
is
vote
all
that
on the card
we buy
set,
it.
like the actual
So you'll be
dispatch.
familiar with it already.
Yes.
Correct.
Same
And it,
questions come up.
serves as a backup
Yeah.
in case it all goes down for some reason, then you can go to the cards.
We could learn from
But the
that.
13 or the 14,000 basically improves the existing scenario.
Correct.
Significantly. Is significantly a good word, is that true?
Well, let's be fair here. It's a significant improvement to where we are,
Right now, right,
but it's where we should have been back in 2000.
right, we still got a ways to go.
We still have, we missed a whole generation here, so we actually have to do last generation, and then we have to move to this generation.
To Leah's point, if that's a big ticket item.
The second part of it is a
Second part.
big ticket item.
Let me, there's something to be clear. I think the current situation is untenable.
That's,
All right, I mean,
from
really,
everything I've
it's,
heard,
I'm, you know, somebody's gonna get hurt. Whether it's a member of the department or a member of the public, if this continues like that, and we've been lucky so far. That's-
I just think we have to do a better job of taking the information in and dispatching the appropriate agencies within a period of time that's acceptable, not dispatching 10 minutes later or whatever past. It should be pretty, it should basically be, it should be more streamlined for the dispatchers. It's not their fault, it's just, we have to provide them tools to be able to do the job at hand.
And the hurdle is the $9,000 for payroll for the training. That's.
Right, but now, what I learned this past week, and I'm looking, what I learned this past week is there might be, the state actually might end up paying for them to go get trained, so I am looking into that. So if that's the case,
Then there's no
we
hurdle.
pay for the thing, and they have to send the dispatchers over. But according to the minutes I read online, it's also, I guess, it could be, or it is, a possible labor issue because we're asking them to do more than what they're doing now, and they would want more compensation in the union.
Of
So
course.
that I can't
Just understand.
talk about that, but that's,
We sat in this room demonstrating this product 2-3 years ago, at least, and
year and a half ago.
And the head dispatcher asked for it. He said, we want the training, we want to do better. So I don't think there's resistance among the rank and file.
There might be a few, so.
Anyways, I think we should proceed, and I would, and if we got a motion to that effect to go ahead. and-
But if you don't have their commitment for the dollars and there's no way to get the dollars and they don't participate, you're not, there's no benefit. That's the way I said, that's what I'm
I
hearing.
think there's a benefit to having the card sit in the room, even if they don't get trained.
But if they don't use them,
We're attempting to rectify the situation and we're not getting cooperation.
And if
Liability,
Do you need a motion?
Exactly.
If we keep kicking, I don't want to keep kicking the can down the road, and that's what's happening. It's been happening for years, and and there's been one reason after another. So,
Guys, we have to do something. This is the next cheapest way out of it. We looked at PowerPhone, we looked at a bunch of other different options, and I mean, even the police department even agreed that priority dispatch is the way to go. It does put a standard on the whole program though, so you are held to a minimum. So I know they're one of their things is they're worried about when it gets busy and they can't follow the card set or they can't follow the program to the letter of the law, and that's understandable. But the guy that came down and tried to sell us the whole program, he says that should not be the norm. That should be a fluke thing that happens where you're taking so many calls in, you can't honestly do everything at once, but it shouldn't happen every day or every other day or even once a week or once every 2 weeks. It should be one of those fluke things where we get a storm and we have 80 calls coming in.
But even
You
at
can't
that
handle
point,
that.
they would be more efficient by understanding the card system. So
Well, they're asking the appropriate questions, especially, it's big.
the only way they're gonna.
It's big for motor vehicle accidents, big for structure fires, it's big to ask different things like, at the JCC, we'd be asking, where the fire is located, how many people are in the building, is everybody able to get out of the building? And we didn't ask those questions during that 911, during those 911 calls, so I think this basically, helps them and gives them a guide on how to do it.
Put it to them. I mean, what's the alternative to just wait and talk more with them?
I mean, the way I read the minutes, it was, if we can find the money, that was the just a matter of finding $8,000 in the budget.
I mean, if we get the training for free, should be a moot point.
The state's in such a hole, I don't know how they're gonna find it.
Oh, they
Something else, sometimes you can find.
it's the number one priority, is the safety of their citizens. It's where the money should go. It's their call.
Alright, so
You need a motion, Sean?
it's up to you guys, otherwise we could just buy it. We get an open purchase order.
Open up purchase order.
What's everybody's feeling?
Is it worth having a conversation with the police to get some sort of
We've had it.
We have many. I mean, this is the next.
Let's buy it and then push them, then we gotta get it implemented, that's it.
So,
I mean, as a fire
in your
commission,
court
I think
now.
we need to move
we've
forward.
got to improve it. The situation is, like you said, not a good situation, so we've got to do something.
And the clock doesn't really start on that 6 months until they actually go. So we're
Right,
not
right.
really putting them in that position where they could argue, well, we're gonna lose that
Right.
$8,000 if they have to pay.
If there's value to be had in it, no matter what,
Let
it's
them
an
go to
easy decision,
contingency.
but I'm not sure that's this case. So,
all right, so
but I understand what you're saying.
I move that we direct the chief to proceed with the purchase through the open purchase order of the card set and training for fire dispatch. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Frein, second. Anybody else? Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you. It, of course, does not preclude, I mean, it ensures actually further conversation.
Yeah,
with all
we
the
have to.
departments.
That's the key, that's the way I'm looking at it. It means that once it's done, now we have to take, maybe it's what we need to, in order to get the next step taken.
Okay. Sean, any more on your report?
No, nope,
Can you give us an update on the day room?
the day room is.
Which was flood damage from the
floor-
coffee maker and his
Yeah,
insurance
the floor is almost in, ran out of flooring, ordered some more, so that should be in, today or tomorrow, we'll get that done, and then, paint, we got ceiling tiles that are gonna go in, and, we lost the couch that was in there, and we're talking to the insurance company now, because the adjuster that came out to okay it is no longer with, the company, so we're actually trying to go backwards to try to get them to cover it. I mean, it's $1,000. It's not a huge number, but we are working with them on that.
Thank you. It's been a while, huh?
What's that?
It's been a while.
Yeah. So,
You don't-
we haven't had good luck with water this year.
You don't realize how much that room is used until you don't have it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you.
Apparatus? Is
New
that-
apparatus, we are still working on the bid spec for engine 3.
How about what about the current apparatus first?
Current apparatus, engineering is working on getting everything, keeping everything up to snuff. Nothing major going on right now, but once we hit the new budget year, July, August, we'll start sending the trucks out for the regular PMs and everything. And I'm sure we're the trucks are getting older. Engine 3 is probably more work this year because it's basically rotting out from the inside out. Engine 9 we're having some other issues with. We're gonna probably have some other issues with this year. We did the brakes on it last year. We did the Jake brake. But I know we're having issues with the generator on that truck. And that was the next truck on the thing that got replaced. New apparatus, we're working on the bid specs. And I should have something all together, ready to go out to bid probably the end of next month or the beginning of August, and then hopefully we'll get the bids all back sometime in September, or send it to the, send it here, and then we'll go to the Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance with the numbers, and hopefully order the truck this year. We need to get it on order. It takes a year to build. And the first payment probably wouldn't be done and wouldn't be due until once we take delivery of the truck, which is a year. Once we sign the contract, the payments usually, how they usually work, depends on how Tony does the financing, the year after. So we wouldn't be looking for a payment for 2 years, but we need to get a truck on order. It's a 1989, so we're on borrowed time with a few trucks right now.
Well, especially
When do you expect to have the pricing back?
I'm hoping by the end of August, beginning of September, make a recommendation, and then hopefully in September, we go to all 3 boards and basically authorize, get the first selectman to authorize the contract, and we can order the truck and get it in a year, probably a year from September, October-ish. So even when we look at it, we're probably a year and a half out. So once it comes in, we gotta outfit it and everything else, so that's where we're at.
But it's the typical sort of bid process that once the specification is decided upon, it's what, things move pretty quickly, but it just sort of depends on how the dates fall in between various board and commission meetings and we can approve it, obviously. And again, it's that anomalous situation where you want to order something now that isn't going to hit the town budget until 2 years from now.
Is there any chance that once you have the bid specs that there's trucks on spec that are out there that might fit or close enough to
They don't really work that way. There's called a demo truck, but we haven't had good luck with those because with a demo truck, you need to be able to act pretty quick, and with the town boards and the town regulations on how it has to get approved, you usually end up losing it. And
How much do you save on this, Sean?
you don't really save that much because they're brand new, they're still on the line, they're called demos, but they're on the line, they haven't been used. But you gotta be able to act within 2 or 3 weeks. I mean, the way our procedures are, it doesn't give you the opportunity to do that.
When you say not that much, is it 100,000? Is it?
No, it's maybe 15, 20 grand.
Oh,
Yeah, unless you pick up a used truck and and you gotta find something that fits. And I mean, we hold on to trucks here for 25, 30 years, so I mean, we buy something for 15 or 20 years old, we get maybe 5 or 10 years out in our, and what happens is our repair maintenance line goes way up because we have big repairs. I mean, last year, we spent over $120,000 on repairs, so at some point, it makes sense just to purchase a new one and put that toward a
And with
payment.
engine 3, it's every year, it's one major repair after another. And
At
now
this
it's,
point, yeah.
let's just keep it running until, for another year or two so we can get it going.
Just hoping the Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance will realize that and start.
Did he leave the room?
He came back.
He listened, he walked back in with
Okay, so that's old apparatus and new apparatus.
The other thing I'd like to get done this year, if possible, is we've had that shed out, the pad out back for the shed for the last 6 years, and I'd like to finish that project up if we could this year. I know there's some money in our budget that was left over from once they poured the pad and everything. The pad came in more than expected because they needed to pour, one of the foundation walls was a retaining wall since it was in a wetland area. And they have some money left over from the insurance of the old firehouse, which burned 11 years ago, October. I'd like to take some of that to finish that project and get that off the table. And then we can move the hose and some of the stuff over here. It makes our job a little easier. Instead of going across the street late at night or whatever, wheeling hose across the road or water or some other stuff. And it would just make our lives a lot easier. And it's a shame that we poured that pad 6-7 years ago and we haven't done anything with it. It's just been sitting there.
So do we have the sense of how much money we're talking about?
We're probably in the area of, we have 34, we'll probably need another 200,000.
200?
And those were numbers from 5 years ago. There is money left over in the insurance for the old building.
Do you know what the net amount is that you need?
It is a house.
Probably about 230.
What's the net amount?
230, 240. I don't know, we haven't really done anything with it in 5 years, so.
But you have some insurance money outside in the budget, or is that?
There's money left from the old firehouse.
I thought that was earmarked for the old firehouse, so. that was-
Well,
Insurance,
you know,
fire
make an
insurance money
attorney-
could be, there's a $500,000 steep grant, which we can't use, that's
Right,
earmarked for the old firehouse, yes. But then there's actual fire insurance money that we got from the insurance company 11 years ago, 10
And,
years ago.
you know, the plan was finish the shed so that we can free up space inside that we're using for storage in the old building. So it's all tied, it's tied together.
We were keeping Bay 1 of the old firehouse, and they built this, they were starting to build this, and they ran out of money. So, that was the idea.
You know, there was also a design that isn't really suitable either. Those original drawings, where all those drawings.
Yep.
This is just a shed, right? Why is it so expensive?
42 and a half or 45 by 45, it's a square. So,
Is it conditioned?
it is conditioned, it has to be conditioned. Because you got equipment in there that needs to be conditioned. You got hose that can't be in extreme heat or extreme cold, even though if you're fighting a fire, it's in that, but it can't sit there throughout the year. Because otherwise it will decay and it will fail. What's that?
It's not a shed. It's more matters, so we have to stop.
Yeah, I mean, we call it a shed, but
But
it's, I mean,
I'm just thinking in
a
terms of-
storage shed for.
If you look on your
fire
budget on the back,
department,
if you look on your shed,
It's
thing on
conditioned
the back, it
specs.
says shed storage facility at the bottom. The money that was expended, the 145, that was just for the foundation.
God.
And that wasn't,
It's unfathomable as well, but.
what's that?
That's unfathomable as well, but it's.
That's what we said. And originally, the volunteers were actually built it. All the town was gonna do is provide the material, but through this whole workers' comp thing, it excluded us and we can't do it. So we would have to, we're actually looking at a kit to purchase and have somebody come in and erect it, whoever we buy the kit from. Basically how it works.
Just seems, considering what's going on with the state budget, and money and everything being what it is, it's gonna be, it's an uphill battle.
Well, the money's there.
Because I heard them say it was gonna be for the other place, but I'll definitely check that out.
Yeah, but the issue is the other place, you know, completing the building across the street, which right now there's no particular plan for it. But completing that is dependent on completion of this project. unless you're gonna continue to dedicate a large portion of that building to department storage.
Yeah, I think what's not clear also is the fact that you're still using a lot of space there. And in order for that to not be the case, that's what this is for, so it's another facility.
Yeah, and you know, and the town spent $146,000 already on it. I would hate to see that go completely to waste.
Which would be the case if they didn't do anything
You
else.
know, sooner or later, it's gonna be unusable, I would think. I don't know how long you can let a pad sit without building on it.
But the reality is, you need space, so if they start using that space at the old firehouse, they have to do something with this, what you're using for storage.
Correct.
Yeah, and that, you know, sort of as the history of this goes, we weren't really looking for this space because we had the space. It's not ideal, but we had the space across the street. But this all, you know, came up in those conversations many years ago as sort of a win-win for everyone, as the solution to the space issue there, and to free up the space.
Are there any other options, like a prefab structure or something?
Well, I
It's
think
basically you're buying a kit.
last time Sean priced it out, it was for a prefab building.
It came out to 200 grand.
A lot of grants. But that's great.
That included electric,
Yeah, but electric, it's already
AC,
piped, it's
conditioning.
gotta be piped over there already.
You gotta buy the wire, you gotta put the breaker, and the breaker was big money too. So, you gotta you're bringing water out and stuff like that. It's already out there, it's piped, but you gotta finish it. Put a panel in.
Yeah, but that, for a 40 by 40 building, I mean, how big of a panel do you need?
Bringing 200 amps out there.
Yeah.
Yep. The run is, I wanna say the run's gotta be every bit of, I wanna say the run is like 200 feet, 250 feet. You got the meter box, you got the electrical, you got lighting. It adds up pretty quick. You got insulation, you can insulate it.
You could build a house for 200 grand.
That's basically what that is, small house.
So there was a committee in charge of this, and then, you know, and since then Sean was running the numbers, and if this project moves forward, we run the numbers again, and we can look at it all then. Sean's just trying to, we're just trying to get a ballpark right now.
Yeah.
It's,
So
it
there's
adds
a
up.
domino effect in terms of whatever that's gonna happen there, and they're anxious to do something with the firehouse, so it's something, the old firehouse, so something's gotta happen.
Got to free up that space before we can do anything with it. That's
Right,
Correct.
exactly right.
That was the whole idea when we did it 6-7 years ago.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Activity report, Assistant Fire Chief Bonner.
All right. This time I'm
What you
working.
got for us?
I don't have anything at this time. I've been working on still learning the system, to be honest with you.
Okay.
There's a whole lot.
We know you're the new guy.
Yeah, it's a learning curve to learn that system and everything, and stuff like that. Amy gave me a hand with some of it, but I will have it for you for next meeting for everything. You like the report that he was giving you the way it was and stuff like that. I understand.
summary report?
Yeah, that's what I understand that's what I'm trying to learn how to get everything done for you.
Are there any incidents of note you want to tell us about in the meantime?
We went to call over the weekend with the large tree down by Blue Check and everything that shut down that area for quite a while.
I heard about it from my friends.
Yes.
What's going on?
I wasn't around for that either, but that was quite a few hours. Some of the newer guys went had to do traffic for 5 hours.
I was, and it was
So-
6 hours.
6 hours, there you go,
It
Nate.
was a big tree.
Yes, it came from the top of the hill and came down and took all the lights with it and everything.
It took wires going in like 3 different
How long did it
directions.
take you while to get there?
The initial guy was there in
Supervisor.
about an hour and 20 minutes.
So they didn't shut the power?
He shut the secondary power, but the primary lines he left on. And that's why when the tree crew came, they said, oh, no, we can't, because, the the tree had come down on the cables that support the
Poles were all pulling
the
together.
lights. So the poles were being pulled in pretty significantly. If you look at the base of the metal pole that holds up the
Concrete
lights,
crack.
it's all cracked and, you know, so look, this is,
Was it on the primaries?
Yeah.
no, the tree was not on the primaries. The tree was basically on the, on some of the secondaries, but it was on the cable that holds the stoplights.
All the poles were tipping
So the
forward.
poles were pulling on in and bent over. They had it broke the top of one of the, you know, the T on one of the poles, the primaries, so the three of them came off and were lying on top. The ones that run down Center Road, down Amity Road, were lying over loose on top of the ones that run up Center Road. So then you know, they had to get supervisors to come in, and that took forever. And then they had to get permission to be able to shut off, you know, certain amounts of power. And then because it's such a significant spot, it's going to backfeed both different ways, and they had to get out. So they had trucks going all different ways, and they ended up not shutting off too much power, which I guess was, you know, better for the residents and so forth. But it took forever.
I mean, I drove by, had to be an hour, maybe almost 2 hours into the
Yeah.
call.
Call
nothing-
came in at 5:15, and I got home at 11:15.
Yeah, I mean, there was one
I got
where
back to
took-
town and they were
Yeah.
still there and I went down.
The light on,
And, yeah.
For the
the entrance is
JCC.
still out.
Yeah, one of the officers reported that last night. I guess they were calling the
He
US.
worked on it today. I was
Yeah.
up there this afternoon, they were working on
So, and then only 2 officers were on that night, and
We'll look into that,
Just
because
no.
5 hours or 6 hours is excessive.
Just out of curiosity, in a situation like that where the light's not working, the side street, you know, that one, I can't remember the name of the
Bond
street.
Road, Bond Road and JCC, right.
I noticed there wasn't a stop sign. Is that something the police department puts there? Like one of those temporary, you know, sometimes it's on a stand or something? Because there's no light, you know, the light's not on at all? I was just curious.
No idea.
Not on at all, because it's been flashing.
it. It was blinking this
It
morning.
was blinking today, it was off.
Yesterday
It was off,
yeah,
yeah.
it was
Yeah,
off.
it was off.
Last night, yeah.
So coming 63, it's no big
Not a
deal.
lot of
Everybody
traffic
just
there,
kind
so-
of bounce by it.
What I learned in Drive Red was if
I
the
thought they may
light's
have
not
just
working,
said,
you're supposed to
"We don't need
stop,
it."
treat it as before we stop it. Nobody.
Is anybody going up?
No.
That's right.
JC reopened.
It's, oh, they're
They camped there and everything today.
Okay.
And then, last Tuesday we had a car accident on Seymour Road. That was a head-on, but
To talk about that accident
We
for a
should
minute,
radio. I was just gonna go there.
the radio system did not work. It failed during that call, so we couldn't communicate back to dispatch. We could talk to the guys on the scene, but we couldn't talk back to the police department or the firehouse. It was extremely hard to hear.
So
The system actually.
we went on
Radio
cell
to
phones.
radio on the scene, you could.
Radio to radio on the scene was okay. Radio back to the police department or the firehouse failed.
And
Because we
cell
can-
phones there aren't,
No,
that
we
spot
got it.
aren't great either.
One of the officers went on his phone, he had no service, it kept dropping on him, and he ended up tossing his phone in the car because he had no service even on his phone.
I talked to Sean in the middle of the call, and
Yeah.
it was, I mean, I live around the corner,
So it was
that's
tough
a
to
definite.
tough to get a hold of dispatch to tell them what we needed. There was a serious accident, it was a hard head-on, and luckily nobody was like threatening or anything, but we had a hell of a time communicating back.
Any analysis done as to
We
what
called
caused it?
Northeastern came out, and it's just the system's aging and it's in a bad area and everything else. With the new system, it would improve that, it would improve the coverage in that area, and we probably wouldn't have these issues. I mean, the system's obsolete, it's coming to the end of its useful life. We have to anticipate that. If that was something serious though, we'd probably try to get on the phone if we had service, which service was iffy there, and we'd do the best we could.
Yeah, that's in the sort of a radio shadow, right?
Yeah, it's right in there.
Talking about the radio for a minute, the Board of Selectmen approved the tower bids that came in. They approved the bid for 302 something, for the work to start at the police department, which they're gonna start hopefully in the next week or two. Getting the foundation in, they hopefully ordered the tower, they're gonna order the tower up and everything else. I know last week wanted to go in, they were waiting on Tony to get some final documents because it is using the steep grant that the police department got for the building, so they have to get it approved by, I forgot the name of the state organization that needs to handle it. It's,
One on the grant.
yeah.
There is a project that's addressing, we're upgrading.
We're upgrading the tower, but that's not upgrading the radio system itself. Basically, we're using the existing system right now. The new system, the budget came in at 1.9 million to replace the radio system in town, which we'll be presenting that to the Board of Selectmen, hopefully in the very near future. They wanted to wait for the new board to be in. One more thing too. If you guys would ratify, Kevion Galan is our new sergeant. We didn't have a sergeant at installation, so we swore him in 2 weeks ago, or 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago, and if you guys want to ratify him, he's our new sergeant.
How does it just, how does that work procedurally? Is that appointed by the association or is
It's,
it elected?
elected.
I know that, yeah, the election's once a year.
Yep, so we have to have a special election for that. Yep.
And that's Kevion, how do you spell it? Galan?
G-A-L-O-N.
G-A-L-A-N.
A-N or O-N.
What's his first name?
Kevion. Okay, so we would need a motion to ratify the election of Kevion Galan as sergeant.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Grant. All in favor? Aye. Please extend our congratulations to Kevion. Excellent. Okay, so that completes the chief's report and the apparatus, rather than the activity report. Okay, so next we have the fire marshal's report, which has been, some inspections have been circulated.
Yes. One fire investigation on Luciani Drive, a power strip. Couple of plan reviews for the new home ec room at Amity High. 58 inspections. We got the country club up and running. And also the JCC opened this morning. The pool, the racquetball court, and that large meeting room they have on the main floor in the front, the kitchen in back of it, and the room in back of that.
Oh, that's open.
That's open. I have them lock the gate so nobody can go downstairs into the fire area. They built a temporary wall so you can't go down the hall. They're looking to get they have an architect. They're looking to get in by the end of this year. Once they get a contractor and figure out what they're going to do. That's their big game plan.
They're moving along the game plan.
That's what I said. There's a lot of work to be done there in 5 months.
They have an architect yet?
They have an architect, Silver Petroselli, I believe it is.
Is he, Brookdale's listed as public education other? What does that mean?
I was talking to him about that. Oh, I did a fire drill with them. They hire a company to do the fire drill, and I went up there to witness it that day.
Okay.
But I've been talking to him about the standpipe at the bottom too.
Anybody have any questions for the fire marshal? Okay. So I would like to report, as you may have read in the paper, that the Jewish Federation and the JCC at their recent annual meeting, which I was unable to attend, commended and recognized among others, the fire department for their fine work at that fire. I know Joe and representing the department.
Yes,
Uh,
I forgot to mention.
So, can you tell us what happened, seeing as I couldn't be there?
I gave the award to Amy.
It's on the bookcase
It's
out in the hall.
It's on the bookcase. They recognized everybody who went to that fire, and area synagogues, and everybody who helped them there. I mean, it was like 2 hours in there, people going up on the stage and receiving awards.
Wow.
So you're absolutely right, Nico. Yeah. It's very nice.
Thank you. Next item is executive session. And I would entertain a motion to go into executive session to discuss attorney-client matters, particularly the referral to town council of letter we got from the state. Anybody want to make that motion?
Make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. And I would just ask that include just the chief, fire marshal, assistant chief, and the
Commission.
Board of Finance liaison, and the commissioners, and our clerk. Sorry, Nate. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, we are out of executive session, and we will confirm that we did not transact any business, make any decisions.
Is that a record?
Make any, no motions made or seconded or passed. The topic of the executive session was a letter we received from the Department of Administrative Services, Office of Education and Data Management, dated April 13th, 2017, but just received within the past week.
2 weeks.
Received since our last meeting, but within the past 2 weeks. Inquiring about the fact that it says the department has not submitted any incident reports for the first quarter of 2017, and cites the statutes under the Connecticut Fire Incident Reporting System. And so, as the chairman, my intent is to refer the matter and the letter to town council for advice and response. I don't think that needs a vote to refer it. I think I can just.
That'll be done
Send
in
it.
writing.
Yeah, I remember scan it and email it to them tomorrow, I think. Okay, is there, next item on the agenda is correspondence, other than this letter. I don't think there is any. And our next meeting dates are July 17th and August 21st. Are those work for those present? Keeping in mind that if we change the date of a regular meeting less than 30 days in advance, it becomes a special meeting.
What's July 17th and August 21st, right?
I have fire commission on that night.
Hey, how about that?
So, so we will stick with that schedule, bearing further advice or some other day. Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
You want to talk about Thursday?
Thursday. Oh, Well, we should simply announce that the swearing in of our new town government for selectmen and Board of Selectmen in particular will occur on Thursday at 4:30, I believe. Yeah, do you remember the time?
It was 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock. 4 o'clock at the gazebo.
But they told me that just to make sure about that.
Yeah, no, it's 4 o'clock. And then the reception will be here on the patio afterwards. Anything else you want to say about that, Sean?
Nope.
Okay.
If I could, just wanted to say thank you and certainly very, very much appreciated and learned tremendously as a result of being on the commission. Certainly appreciate everything that, all the efforts and all the support and guidance that everybody provided. And look forward to continuing to work with the fire commission as well.
Sad to see you go, but
Thank you.
wish you well in your
Thank you very much.
in your new role in town government. Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Thanks.